time for the moment you've been waiting for. Da, 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 da,
A peaceful day. Imagine yourself minding your own business, walking down a sidewalk or yard, when all of a sudden, it happens. You, an average Joe, run into a city animal. You have little to no knowledge of how to act around wildlife, since, the common populace usually does not. Whether that be rat, stray cat, possum? No, not that possum. Yeah, that possum. That one. If you say you've never run into this situation or run into a wild animal, don't worry. I have an idea to change that. You need to touch grass. I'm being so for real. Please touch grass. I'm actually begging you. Otherwise, think back on that encounter. What did you feel? Why is that bear on my porch? Who put him there? And finally, whose dog is this? Interactions like this happen every day. No matter how different these reactions may vary, there's only one cause for this. Human expansion, baby. Confused? Good. Let me break it down for you. The more our cities and populations expand, the greater number of animals and ecosystems we affect, whether it's incorporating them into conservational parks and research, or completely transforming the landscape these animals live in. As you can tell, today we are going to talk about how we change animal behaviors for the worse.
So interesting, I know.
And how you get on. First thing you're asking yourself, are you sure? I haven't heard anything about this. My response is, yep. Pretty sure because a couple reasons. Harmful environmental practices, which include but are not limited to deforestation, microplastics, overfishing, overpoaching and hunting, air pollution, water pollution, light and noise pollution. Oh, hold on. There's some more here. Hang on, let me just flip the page. Dear God. All these, in short, are catastrophic for the environment, and as such, they affect animals just as much as they affect the ecosystem, and your lungs and basic health functions. I don't know why I need to tell you that, but I want to give two arguments on how our attitudes in society, along with this perfectly reasonable, slightly Titanic-sized list, affects the behaviors of animals. Okay, first one, invisible impacts. As a young adult myself, I can generally summarize that many believe in their environmental self-awareness, how much they perceive they impact the animals either in your neighborhood, in the wild, or in their city. However, I can guarantee our perceptions of animals doesn't encompass the changes actually seen and unseen. These urban species aren't adapting, they're surviving and being altered, having 93% of all urban and suburban wildlife being marginally different than their wild counterparts. Let's use just like a quick example of a classic guy, raccoon. Love raccoons. Nature's cat burglar.
Wild raccoon mother. Attempting to stay alive, the mother will protect the infant with her life.
I know it's really tricky. I would never be able to guess which one's which, but I digress. Animals have become way too in part with humans, which has led to increases in what's called human-wildlife conflict. Let's run through another scenario. A bear, well-experienced, fat and plump, and determined, raids trash cans in a suburban neighborhood in Colorado. As his only food source, he's raided many times, and he's very experienced at doing it. But one day, he's found by the owner of one of these houses. Terrified, they call the cops and animal control, who end up misinterpreting the situation and shooting and killing him. Poor bear. However, this is not a rare occurrence, as circa 2024, over 98 bears have been euthanized due to either shootings, food conditioning based off of trash, or otherwise. The bear did not change its diet due to a survival instinct. Black bears especially are well-known omnivores, supplementing proteins with ample flora like berries and other things. Rather, changing his behaviors out of association from past excursions, building reliance on humans. Our impacts on animal behaviors aren't nearly as black and white as they may seem. Every criterion from these impacts can mean the total disruption of predator-prey balance, reliance on natural survival skills, and increased aggression on people, which end up worsening this cycle of change. Now I move on to argument number 2. Let's go. Attitudes on climate. As mentioned before, climate change is a result of a humongous list of human-led activities. Can we run that back again, please?
Yes, that's likely to.
Carried into modernity by structures which rely on these practices to function. Many people align themselves as an advocate for environmental safety and conservation, but the fact of the matter is that no one anytime soon is selling their brand new Mustang in order to get a Tesla, or most cars for that fact. Tesla kind of sucks. As such, many actions we condemn, we don't seek to gain from completely abandoning in exchange for something more healthy for the environment. We live in a perpetual cycle of condemnation and ignorance, or a lack of motivation to sacrifice quality of our lives for instilling better systems in place. Imagine sacrificing oil and gas with nuclear, or private cars for public transportation. I align with this very much so because Lord knows I'm going to be driving a Tesla or riding a train or something. These choices we make ignore the negative factors and influences we have when we grow cities, flesh out suburban housing, pump fumes into the air from these industries, have an effect on our climate, therefore affecting the animals and their interactions both in the wild and with humans. One of these influence aspects is the internal natural clock for hundreds of species regarding migration times, hibernation, and breeding seasons. Once again, gotta break it down for you real quick. Here's a couple implications and examples. Just one form of these examples comes in the form of one scientific blog post, which elaborates on marine mammal populations being vulnerable to climate-induced threats, emperor penguins misbreeding at different times, and unpredictable conditions causing reindeer populations to plummet, some projected at 60%. I mean, if this continues, Santa's going out of business. Now, I know some of you are trying to be different, disagreeing with me. That this is a luxury concern. People need food, jobs, housing, gas, and not to be lectured on something the regular person just can't control. Others bring up conservation efforts where we're saving more than we're actually hurting. Looking at federal changes, reintroduction programs, and yada yada yada. What do I gotta say? Firstly, conservation. Those are exceptions, not the rule. Most conservation is reactive, not preventative, fixing the damage after harm is done. Not to diss, but it needs more effort and urgency. When you say animal behavior is a luxury concern, seeing it as a secondary to human needs, it's only framed that way because of politics and media. It is, in fact, that deep. Now, my attempt at entering the second part of that question will tie nicely into the conclusion, so I'm just going to work it in there. Yeah, I know, it's a video. Don't get it twisted. But it does mean that the weird, bold, confused, trash-eating, climate-stressed animals we see today don't just decide to change on their own. Any overflowing dumpster in an alley, every farm cutting through hectares of forest, will show up later in a flock of birds that can't migrate correctly, or dead spots in the sea as a result of rising CO2 percentages. The bottom line is, we changed the world first, and they're just trying to survive in it. Deep, I know, I came up with that myself, I'm pretty proud of it. But none of this is hopeless. Just like humans cause this behavioral mess, humans can undo it by changing how you build, how you waste, what you support, and how you think about other species living beside us. If we can learn to do the little things, we have the appetite to change our future for the next generation, both human and animal. So yeah, maybe recycle, maybe walk sometimes, touch some grass, maybe take a shower, maybe go outside, touch some grass, secure your garbage. Don't melt the atmosphere, that would be bad. But seriously, stop trying to feed raccoons, they'll bite you. Okay, thank you.